Should the Mad Hatter crazy Green Party MP Genter be expelled from Parliament? Recent alleged behaviour: accosting and intimidating a Member of Parliament, Matt Ducey; accosting and intimidating a Wellington florist, Laura Newcombe; accosting and intimidating a Wellington businesswoman, Nicola Granfield.
Rachel Bowick was speaking, and then an interjection and an interaction occurred between my colleague, the Honourable Matt Ducey, sitting down here, and the Honourable Julianne Genter, where the Honourable Member Julianne Genter strode across the chamber of the House and physically accosted the Minister Ducey in a threatening, intimidatory way that I think is utterly unbecoming and unparliamentary of this chamber.
Ms Genter, please resume your seat. Please resume your seat. Okay, we're just going to have some order here. Sorry, Rachel Bowick. We're going to have some order.
And sir, I've never seen behaviour of that sort in this chamber in my time in this House, and I think it's a serious matter that warrants an intervention immediately. And that the member is still sitting in this chamber without having apologised or accounted for her actions, I think is intolerable and needs your intervention, sir. So further, I'm advised that the footage is clearly available on the parliamentary video facility.
Therefore, publicly available as well. Stephen Abel.
May I speak? I was not in the chamber at the time, but I did see the end of the alleged incident on Parliament TV upstairs. I did not see any contact between the member and the member across, and I appreciate you nodding your head to that. There was no physical contact. I understand from my colleague that she feels strongly about the issue. I wanted to show you the actual data in the booklet. She's a very science and data-driven human being, and she was wanting to show you the actual information in the booklet. And when there was an intervention immediately by the chair, Barbara Kuriger, the member then rightly crossed the floor and took her seat and has remained in place since then. That is my understanding of what happened, and I just wanted to convey that to you, Mr. Speaker.
Vanessa Winnick.
At the time, whilst some of us found some aspects of it quite amusing, looking at the situation from the perspective of, there was my colleague seated, whilst a person was standing over him with a book, making a lot of gestures and angry, loud, and quite intimidating actions. And I reflected, had that been myself sitting there, with either another female or indeed if a male was doing that to me, the way that would be viewed would be quite different. But I feel that no matter who it was, that was an extraordinary outburst, and it was intimidating in its nature, coming from where I was sitting.
The Honourable Karen Choi.
I would like to add to that from my position, it looked like a huge amount of intimidation that was going on, very close to the person, standing over the person and physically shaking a book in that person's face. If that was me, I would have felt very intimidated, and I feel that it was really inappropriate.
The Honourable Julianne Genter.
If I could apologise for my actions, Mr. Speaker, it was the last thing I wanted to do to intimidate anyone in this House. What has absolutely motivated me is a desire to share information that I believe would be of benefit to everyone in this House. And I'm very sorry if in my passion to do so, I was intimidating. That was not my intention.
Well, it is most certainly not unusual for MPs from either side of the House to have discussions that are quiet, normally within the benches. In fact, they're always within the benches, because it is not appropriate for any MP to stand on the floor of Parliament and to engage in effectively debate, if that's what it was. I'm not in a position to say that I saw it. I'm a bit like Mr. Abel. I'm only listening to what I've heard. and it doesn't reflect well on Parliament when we have these sort of moments. I think the member has just indicated that you're apologetic for what is what I missed, if you like, in the things you made in a moment when I call you. Like when I call you, you might like to expand on that a little bit. What I do want to say to all members of the House is that if any member believes at any point that anyone has breached standing orders or breached the privilege of the House, which is to speak freely, to speak in an environment where you're unintimidated by anybody else, and in an environment where your views are challenged only from the speaking position of the person who might like to challenge them. That is debate. Beyond that, it becomes potentially something else. I'll hear from the last time from Geraint Genter.
Oh, apologies, Mr. Speaker, I didn't hear the last thing you said. You'd hear from me.
I was incredibly wise, so I'm sorry that you've missed it. I just said it is totally inappropriate for there to be debate that can be in any actions that can in any way be considered intimidating, and so that's where you're at.
That is, Mr. Speaker, why I'm apologising that I was physically intimidating. It was not my intention. And that I will not do that in the future.
Good. Well, we don't want to see that happen again. If the member feels that her passionate feelings about the matters being debated to such a point where you feel like you need to intervene like that, I would suggest that quietly going out of the House would be a much better solution and far more orderly than approaching anybody in their benches. So just state again, I think we'll now return to the committee, but if anyone feels as though there has been a breach of privilege, then they know that there is a course of action to follow in that regard. The House is back in committee. The committee is resumed. Members, I've received letters from party whips raising with me a matter of privilege in relation to events in the Committee of the Whole House last night. There is now a natural justice process to follow where a member complained about may make representations to the Speaker. I expect to receive any such representations no later than midday on Monday. After that, I'll make my ruling. I remind members that once a matter of privilege has been raised with the Speaker, it is not in order to raise it in the House in any way until the Speaker's made a decision on the matter. Speaker's rulings 230/4.
Ms. Genter, please resume your seat. Please resume your seat. Okay, we're just going to have some order here. Sorry, Rachel Boyack. We're going to have some order.
Should the taxpayer be paying Geraint Genter nearly $200,000 a year in a salary package inclusive of financial benefits? Is this the type of politicians we want representing New Zealand in Parliament? Thank you for listening. Geraint, on behalf of WhangareiTim.